next slide I'd like to show you is what I call the Medallion Midge Adult. Here again we're going to be using a ring eye hook, which is a 101. The body will be either turkey or goose biot. And the difference there just depends on what size fly you're going to be tying. For something, say a size 16 and larger, then I like to use a turkey biot. Anything smaller, I'll definitely use a goose biot. And then we're going to have some wings out of Zing Wing. We have a shell back here out of some poly yarn, and the legs are also poly yarn. So let me show you how I do this. First, what we're going to do is put in our 101 hook. And then we're going to attach our thread and wrap back to the bend of it. Take off our excess thread. Now we're ready for our biot. For this one we'll use a black turkey biot. We'll come in here and peel one off. Again, I'm going to want a nice smooth body, so I'm going to have that curve, that little notch in the biot to my left. I'll tie it in tip first, and we'll bring our thread forward up into the thorax, and we'll start to wrap our biot. Attach our hackle pliers here. Now as I wrap forward, I'm making sure that every wrap covers up that little fuzzy rib right there. And that just ensures that I have that nice smooth body. Get up to the front, tie it off, and cut off our excess and make sure it's tied in there good. And now we're ready to tie in our wing case material, which is some black poly yarn. So we'll peel off a hunk of this, and we'll even it up so it's a lot easier to tie in. And we'll tie back to right where we tied off the biot. And then I'll come forward to right behind the eye of the hook. Then I'm going to select a little bit more of that poly yarn, and that's what's going to be our legs. We'll stick that out over the eye, and we'll wrap back, and we'll trim that end of it off. Now I'll make sure I have a nice smooth thorax area here. Now we're ready to attach some wings. And for that, I'll be using some Zing Wing. So we'll cut a little strip of this off. Then what I'm going to do is just lay it right over the top of the thorax, just kind of like it's spent. And we're going to do a figure 8. Then you want to give it a nice little tug there. Make sure that you have the same amount of tension on both wings. Then what I do is I just kind of pinch it, and then I'll lay it along the side. I'll take a turn or two of thread back, and then my wing will be laying back, just like what I want. And then I'll bring them together, and I'll measure the wings to just a little bit shorter than the length of the hook. Cut it off, and we'll round those wings off a little bit, just like so. Just making them look a little more like the natural. That looks good. And then we'll come up to these legs here, separate that into 2 groups. And we'll lay one side back away from you along the side of the shank of the hook. And we'll do the same thing on the side towards us, just like so. Then we're going to take this wing case, pull it over, and we'll tie it right behind the eye, several turns of thread. And then we'll come right in front of the material and we'll whip finish it off. And we take off our thread. Now we're going to take that wing case, pull it out over the eye, just trim it to the length of the eye. So you have that little head appearance to it. And then you take and start at the eye of the hook, pull the leg straight back, and I butt my scissors up against the back of the hook shank, and that's right where I trim the legs at. That's the reason for using the poly yarn, is if you look at a natural midge adult, I mean, they really have long, dangly legs. And the poly yarn aids real well in helping depict that. And there you have the Medallion Midge Adult.